Good afternoon and welcome to Discus Business Sources. Today we're going to be focusing on two different databases for the most part. We're going to be talking mostly about Small Business Reference Center and Business Source Premier. My name is Martha Higgins and I am a training specialist with EBSCO, but before that I was an academic librarian for 14 years. So you might hear some of that coming out when I am speaking. Please feel free to write down my email address and my phone number, so if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me or call me at any time with those questions, not just about these, but on any EBSCO products. So today we're going to be covering Small Business Reference Center, and within Business Source Premier, we're going to be talking about basic and advanced searching, folders and alerts, NAICS codes and DUN numbers and how they can be useful, and how to do company searching. We're also going to be talking about the benefits of getting a My EBSCO host account and why you might want to set up search alerts. We're just going to briefly touch on Master File Premier and Academic Search Premier because those are both also really good for different reasons with business information. So let's go to our live account right now. Hold on one second. And we're going to go into Discus site. Now we can come here and go to our A to Z list, or we can come here right to Business, Economics, and Legal. And you'll notice Business Source Premier, Master File Premier, and Small Business Reference Center. So let's start with Small Business Reference Center. Now you can also search this within the regular EBSCO host search box. But a lot of people like this because it's a very intuitive interface. And there are some really great features in here that you wouldn't see necessarily if you use the EBSCO host interface. And one of the things that you quickly see is this Browse Popular Sources. Now these are all the NOLO guides. NOLO is a publisher that makes great do-it-yourself types of things. Home business tax deductions, legal guide for small businesses, and you can flip through here and see some of the other how to do a quick LLC. So this is really nice, and all of these are full text right here. So you can just click on the book and open it and do a search. Oops, I don't know why that happened. Let's try another one. Okay, here we go. And then you can do a quick looking through the book just like you would see it in print form. Now these are great because a lot of times the public libraries have a hard time keeping up with the newest editions of these, and whenever a new NOLO book is published, it gets added to Business Source, Small Business Reference Center. Excuse me. So these are really helpful guides. Now you can also do a quick search in here, say NOLO and taxes. Now I'm going to use the asterisk for so that I'll pick up taxes, anything taxation, and we can just do a quick search this way, and it will find everything within NOLO, press, and taxes. Okay, so that's something, just a very quick demo of some of the more popular sources that are found within here. Now you can also add all of these NOLO guides into your, get the MARC records and add them into your catalog. So you don't, even if your patrons don't know, oh, I have to go into Small Business Reference Center and then look in NOLO guides, you can just add those MARC records directly into your catalog as well. Another thing that I like to point out here is this startup information, and you can browse by state. So we're going to take a quick look at South Carolina. And you'll see this Small Business Startup Guide for South Carolina. It's from 2017, and it has the latest statistics. So this is good because you can think about, you know, who your patrons of your small business might be, and basic licenses and permits information, who to contact for all that type of information. And this is nice because it's easy. The patron can print this out directly or email it to themselves very quickly for this information. Okay, oops, I'm sorry about that. Let's go back into Small Business Reference Center. So there are a couple of really useful things that your patrons, I'm assuming most of you will be working at public libraries that will be looking at Small Business Reference Center. There are things for academic libraries here as well. And actually for high school students who are thinking about, hey, I want to start a lawn mowing business. You know, there are the forms you can find in here to start up that business. So let's just do a quick search in here. If you have a patron who's coming into your library, and hopefully they're doing their research first. It's always so much easier when someone is doing their research before they want to open a business. Hey, has this business been done to death, or is there really a market out there for it? So, you know, looking at population data, everything like that. But say you have someone who wants to open a coffee shop in your town in South Carolina. You can come into here and say, okay, what kind of articles will I find in here? Now you'll notice some are from July 2018. So here's a great one. So you want to open a coffee shop. And you'll notice that a lot of the what's found in here are actually trade publications, magazines and trade publications. Things that you're not necessarily going to find in something like Business Source Premier, because this is marketed a little bit different. These are for people who already own these or are thinking about opening up. So we can go right to here and say, okay, coffee shops is the actual subject term, but then we can also look at the NAICS code if you don't know what the NAICS code is, North American Industrial Classification System. So this is an easy way to find what NAICS code should I be looking at for this information. And again, if they want to look at the HTML or the PDF, and again, they can print it or email it to themselves. But this is nice because it will tell you how many Starbucks are in the area, how many, you know, coffee shops, independent coffee shops, what are the pros and cons of joining something, or has coffee been done to death? And we might want to open up a tea shop or a different type of shop. So I really like this for that type of information that can be found. So let's take a look at the advanced search now. And there are some things that you'll notice with the advanced search. I was looking for coffee shop, but when I was looking for coffee shop, it was actually only searching the title, the author, the subject headings, the NAICS codes, but it wasn't actually searching the full text of the articles. Now we still got over 1,000 results of really good results. If you're not getting enough results, you also might want to check on this also search within the full text of the articles. But then the problem is sometimes you get, yes, you get 8,000 results, but you might get results that aren't necessarily about opening a coffee shop. So that's why I like to start with always just looking in the regular way and keeping that unchecked. So that's something that's in the advanced search that you can do. Now you can also say, I only want things that have been published since 2010, because if it's a business and unless you're doing historical research, you might only want actually, let's say, in the last few years. So let's make it 2015 to 2018. And again, now we're down to 71 results. But you're going to find out what's going on in the coffee shop industry. Now again, we were looking at coffee shops as in opening a coffee shop. If you want more information just on coffee, you know, as coffee producers, things like that, you know, then you're going to get very different results. And again, how is the coffee in the stock market, things like that. Something like this, Modern Trader, about trading coffee, you know, import and export. So that's another thing that you're going to be able to find in here. Some of the other things that you're going to be able to find Or this browse by category. This is really nice because, again, do you want industry information by small business type? What might be more helpful, though, is startup kit and business plans. So if you want to write a business plan, this could also be useful in something like a high school business class. If you have your students write up a business class or write up a business plan, this can be helpful. Again, a small business, let's look at writing up a business plan. All the things that they're going to want to consider before they actually open something. So I actually have seen public libraries offer classes on something like this. They don't actually, public librarians never give out, tax advice or anything like that. But this is just something, it's a good way to market the product, the Small Business Reference Center, and show your public, your users, what types of information they can have in there. Market your classes. Say, are you thinking about opening up your own business, be it a jewelry business in your house or something like a coffee shop or a microbrewery? These are things you need to know. So we can look at writing a business plan and how to write the business plan. So this is just nice. You'll see how to write a business plan. This is one chapter of a book and what is needed in your business plan. So again, some of the information is basic, but can be really helpful for people who just have ideas and aren't familiar with starting their own business. Okay. The other thing that's nice in here that you might not be aware of is business videos and images. So if we click right into here, and let's say we want something entrepreneurship. Again, using the asterisk, so I get entrepreneurial, entrepreneurship, anything like that. And I can watch these videos right from here. And also the transcriptions are right there. So something like, what's the #1 mistake entrepreneurs make? These might be, helpful for a lot of your patrons. Okay, so let's go back and let's just do another quick search. Okay, let's do a search on grants. Applying for grants, something like that. So here's a good one as an example. We have the HTML and the PDF. So it's nice because you have all of this information as an HTML or a PDF. You also have in here forms. Let's go back to our results for a minute. And you'll see right here where it says forms. So you not only have the magazines, the books, reports, but we want forms that you can fill out. And this is the RTF, the fillable outable. I don't know how else to form it, as well as the PDF where they can just print it out, or use it with the PDF Adobe where you can fill it out online. But this is very nice, that all of these things have forms included. And it's interesting, one of my neighbors was thinking about opening up a lawn mowing business. So I printed out some forms from here that he could then use as a basis to go around when he was getting new customers. He wanted them to have contracts to show he was a professional. This is a great place to find easy things like that, forms that are already done for you. So if there are no questions, I do want to show you a couple of other things. One of the things we can do is go into publications. So we looked right here at business videos. Let's look here at publications and what types of publications are in here. Like I said, they're going to be very different than you might find in something like Business Source Complete. So if we come in here and we want to find something on nonprofits, if you're thinking about creating a nonprofit, but instead of alphabetical, I want to go by a subject and description because I don't know the name of the journal about nonprofits. I can come here and just browse. What do you have on nonprofits? Oh, look, nonprofit times. So something like this is very helpful, starting and building a nonprofit. A good example of this is when my brother passed away and we started a scholarship fund in his honor. You can come here, you might have a lot of questions like this at something at the reference desk at your library. Hey, I'm thinking about starting, a scholarship fund. Well, that's technically a nonprofit, and so they're going to need tax-exempt status. How do I get that? So something like this might be really good, starting and building a nonprofit. All the basics you're going to need to know to open up, your volunteer nonprofit startup companion, volunteer assignments, and things like this that can be really helpful for starting something like this. So I do like to show you, again, I went to publications and then searched by subject and description. You can do the same thing if you're looking for what tax journals might be included in here. And you can see tax advisor, tax strategist. Now some of these are going to be books. You'll notice this is obviously a magazine, but this Tax Savvy for Small Businesses, there's just one date, but that might be a very helpful book for small businesses in your area. So again, if you're ever looking to promote this, there are lots of different ways you can promote this. And one of the ways is to come here to either support.ebsco.com or help.ebsco.com and go to promote your resources. And we can come here, finding posters, and we can look in here for different things. We can also come here to EBSCO Help and just say, small business, and here you'll find more things on Small Business Reference Center. Questions and training and promotion. Again, promotion kit, and if you want to have, posters or bookmarks or anything like that, how to promote it within your library. All right, so let's go back to Discus for a minute. And now we're going to switch over to Business Source Premier. Now there are a couple of different things that I'd like to show you. Right now we're in the Business Source Complete and Business Source Premier with the Business Searching Interface. You can also, from Discus, if we go to the A to Z list and we come to EBSCO Host Research Databases, and we can come right down here to Business Source Premier this way. Now I'd just like to show you that both of these are available. They both contain the same information, but just different interfaces. And certain people like this interface better because, again, you can just click on company information, publication, subjects. So it just depends on which interface you as a librarian or you as your patrons might be more comfortable using. But I do like to just point that out. It contains all the same information. So let's go into here and just do a quick search. Now, one of the nice things is if we just want to come to company information and we just say, I want to know about Hilton. And you'll see all the different Hilton, but the one we want is Hilton Worldwide. And here is the basic company information, what their revenue is, who their executives are, things like that. This is the basic information on these companies. Or we can come in here and put Hilton in here, and you'll see very different types of information that you'll find in here. So we can come down here and look at the subject headings. Look, again, it's going to be Hilton, this company, the main one. So what is the parent company? That type of information will be found in here. But say your patrons are looking for a SWOT analysis. You can always just add in Hilton and SWOT. Hilton Worldwide SWOT analysis from a couple of months ago. So these are the types of things many of your patrons might come looking for. Hey, I'm thinking about investing and I want to look at the SWOT analysis. So again, this is using this business searching interface. If we come into here and we go to the advanced search, you'll see it looks like all of your other EBSCO host databases that you might be familiar with. But some things are a little bit different. So I'd just like to show you, when you come into this database, you're going to find very different field codes than you might find in something like Academic Search Premier or Literary Reference Center. So some people might know the NAICS code or the DUNS number. Now, a DUNS number is assigned by Dun & Bradstreet, and it's a unique 9-digit identification number for each physical location of your business that has a contract with the federal government. So most people will not be searching by DUNS numbers, but if you do have somebody who is, this is one of the few databases where you can search by that DUNS number. But a couple of other great features that you can search by are things like the ticker symbol. Because you might have, I know in my public library, we have a lot of users who come into the library specifically looking to do research. You know, they used to come in and look at the print indexes and things like that, but they can do all this from home now, obviously through Discus, through their public library card. So if we just want to know about Amazon and how Amazon is doing, there are a couple of ways we could do this. Now you'll see we got 8,000 results. Now right now we're looking at relevance, which is how most people were doing. It also, but if they only want what's the latest on Amazon, and you'll see from Kiplinger's Personal Finance, August 2018. Again, they're recommending Amazon as a stock to buy and keep. So I do like to always point out this, by default, we have it set to relevance. But the other thing you might want to do, that your patrons might want to do, is say they want to know when did Amazon first get started, you know, publicly traded and things like that. So you can also say date oldest. And then you can say, okay, in 1996 it looks like, or 1991 it was first being talked about, Amazon.com. So I just like to always show that if somebody does want to do historical, you know, when it first came out, when it first went public, what were people saying about it? So let's switch it back to relevance for a minute. But say you want information about Amazon, but you only want information about their book industry. You don't care about the clothing and the sheets they sell, but you want to know more about what about Amazon and the book industry. Again, if you know the NAICS code, you can look it up by the NAICS code, and now you're going to see a much smaller result list. But these are all about Amazon and these different countries and their influence on these books industry profiles. Now again, I'm going to take out the book industry for a minute, and again, just search by Amazon, just to show you an example. And again, over here, we have the same type of information, the source types. And this is important because we can limit to just trade publications, just magazines, just industry profiles. So depending on the type of information your patron is looking for, again, they might want the SWOT analysis, but they also might want the market research reports. Those can be very helpful as well if they're thinking about where do I want to be investing. And is online spending, is it going to keep going up and up and up, or has it reached its peak and now people are going back to buy local? So I just like to show all of these field codes. Now, if you ever have a question about the field codes and how to use them, you can always come over here to the help screen. This help screen I can't recommend highly enough because it's got some great information about how to do advanced searching, how to do Boolean searching, things like that. But more importantly, if we come down here to database help, this gives us information particularly about this database. What's included, what isn't included, Boolean, again, grouping terms together, but more importantly, searchable fields. So this can be really helpful because a lot of these searchable fields that you'll find here will not be included in the pull-down searchable fields. And a good example of this is author affiliation. So I'm going to put this back to here, and I'm going to use my field code this way. So instead of, because you'll notice it isn't, you don't see it here, but if I know my author affiliation, and I want somebody from the University of South Carolina, if you have a patron who comes in and says, you know, I know there's somebody who was writing about this from the University of South Carolina, this is an easy way to just limit to things by the University of South Carolina. And if I want the University of South Carolina and something about stocks, I remember it was about stocks, this is an easy way to find those things. And if we come to here, you'll see here are the authors, and then down here, the University of South Carolina is identified. So I always like to show that that is an option in here. Excuse me. Now again, I'm just going to switch over to the business searching interface, and you'll notice very, very similar that you'll see in here. But one thing we can, and you'll see down here, the same, many of the same field codes are pull downs, but not all. So that's why I was saying the same information is in here, but it's just set up a little bit differently. So here's an example of something we can do in here. Again, we'll stick with Amazon. And I want something, does he always go by Jeff, Jeffrey? But I don't want just information on Jeff Bezos. I want particularly interviews with Jeff Bezos. So I can come into here and say, I just want interviews with Jeff Bezos. How do I find those? And this will give you all of the interviews that have done that. Now again, you can find that same information in this search, in the advanced search, but it just looks a little bit different. Again, here are the document types down here. So it just depends on what your patrons are looking for. But I do like to just point that out. Make yourself familiar with both. But for the most people, if they're familiar with Academic Search Premier, Master File Premier, they're used to this interface, this is the one they might want to look at. So I'm going to just stick with the University of South Carolina for a minute as an author affiliation. And I just want to point out a couple of things about this. So let's take a look at this one, fraud and market participation. So you'll notice it's available as an HTML and as a PDF. So one of the things that I always like to show in all of the EBSCO host databases is that you can come into here and look at it as an HTML or as a PDF, but I'll show you the HTML for a reason. Because I don't think enough librarians take advantage, especially when you have patrons who might be English as a second language or patrons who might be visually impaired. I don't know if enough librarians take advantage of this listen feature. And this is also available in the other interface as well. But this is really nice. I have a friend who's visually impaired, and she loves it when this is available. Now, again, it's only available when this article is available as an HTML. If it's only a PDF, this is not an option. And kids always like it, of course, because you can switch it to a British accent or an Australian accent. But if it's a very long article, you can also download the article right there. Just click on the download button. But this is very nice because it also is good for English as a second language learners, because when you're listening to it, I'm not going to press listen right now, but when you're listening, it actually highlights the words that it's reading. So this can be a really nice feature so that students might be able to learn to pronounce words properly, and they can follow along with the reading. The other thing that I like to show, again, when it's available as an HTML, is the choose language. And this is very nice because I volunteer here where I live at a place called Literacy for Life. So we'll bring in articles to read. I'll bring in articles to read with him, with my person right now. And I'll print it out in both English and in Spanish. Now this is a computer-generated translation, but it's really nice because my Spanish is non-existent. So if I want to have it translated, and it's into 30 different languages, so if you have a high population of ESL learners, you might want to mention this to some of the teachers who work with these students. So if you get stuck on a word, you have the translation there available. So I think this can be really helpful. Now again, you can put it directly into Google Drive or Google Classroom if you work in a school. You can also add it to your folder, print, email it, save it. Students love it when the citation is already done for them. They don't even have to do it themselves. And you can also create a permalink if you work with something like Moodle or Canvas or Blackboard, and you can put this link directly into Moodle or Blackboard. So I do like to always just point these features out. These are the same features in all of the EBSCO host databases. The other thing I like to point out, excuse me, my mouse just stopped working suddenly, is the Thesaurus. So if you don't know what search term you might want to be using, should I always be using the term private equity, or is there another term that I might want to be looking at? You can say, all right, I can explode the term private equity and add it to my search. And then it's searching all the different words that private equity could be using. So that's also just a nice feature I always like to point out. And again, that was under Thesaurus. Again, similar to Small Business Reference Center, we have publications. So if we know that we want to be looking at Forbes every month, or Money Magazine, or any of the other things that are in here, you'll see we get it back to immediately back to 1990. So if you just want to look at the newest edition of Forbes, you can come in here and say, all right, I want to look at August Forbes magazine. It hasn't come in the mail yet, but it's already available here. So this can also be nice, and I always like to remind librarians about this, is if you know you have a patron who comes into the library every month to look at the new Money magazine, the new Forbes, they like to keep up with their stocks, and if you know that you have patrons like that, you can actually set up alerts, journal alerts, that will go to their email inboxes. Now you as librarians can do this for them, or they can sign up for them themselves. But I always like to point that out. You have to have an EBSCO host account to set up the search alert. Let's see if I can remember my password. If you, okay, so I'm now logged in, but if you don't have a login, you can easily set one up. But sometimes it's not really convenient for, or they don't want just another sign in or another login. If you don't have one, you can create one right now and right here. And the hardest thing is creating a password, because you do need a number and a character and letters. But I'll go back, and I'll go back in and sign in as myself again. Because I just want to show you how easy it is to set up these search alerts, excuse me, these journal alerts. So if I come over here to share and I set up email alert, so that it will say every time there's a new Forbes magazine or any other magazine that you want to set up, you can actually link to individual articles and email to and put the patron's address if they don't want to create their own EBSCO login, and then save, but I'm going to cancel. But this is a really nice feature if you know that there are certain patrons who come in every month looking for these magazines. This is a nice way to have the table of contents sent directly to their email so they know what's in there. So I just like to always point that out. Okay. Excuse me one second. So just a couple of other things that I do want to put into here. Excuse me one second. So that was, and we're going to go back into the EBSCO host databases for a minute and back into Business Source. And we can come here into the advanced search. So if I wanted to follow a company, like I said, we were looking at Amazon before. So if I wanted to come in here and say Hilton as my company entity, or if I knew my ticker symbol, we can do it that way. We can also set up a search alert, just like we set up a journal alert. We can come in here and say, I want to be emailed every time there are new articles about this company. So this can be helpful if you're looking at a very small company, you know, and you think they're going to be growing, or your patron thinks they're going to be growing. You can again set that up. Once you're logged in, it will have an email account. So again, this is nice if you know that you have a patron who comes in and follows GE. Now GE has been on the decline, but they might still want to be notified when there are new articles coming out about GE. And this is nice because they might be reading the Wall Street Journal every day, but this is nice because it searches everything within Business Source Premier, and will send them anything on GE or whatever other company that they want to follow. So again, it's just something to be interactive with your patrons to say, hey, would you like me to set up a search alert for you? Okay. Now before I go, I did just also want to show you that there are some great business resources, both for consumers and small business owners, both within Academic Search Premier and within Masterfile. Now, most of you probably have used Masterfile for things from Consumer Reports because it is the only database that contains consumer reports. So you might already be familiar. Now, the interface looks exactly the same as we were just looking at in Business Source. But again, if you wanted to come in here and just do a search in something on business ethics, and this again gives you lots and lots of different types of information than you would find in something like Business Source Complete. And you'll notice the first one that comes up is from Vital Speeches of the Day. So something like that wouldn't be found in Business Source Premier, but it is found here, and it could still be very useful depending on the type of information that your patrons are looking for. So I always do like to point this out, that don't just think, okay, I only have to go to one database, and that's when something like Smart Search comes in handy, is because it's searching all of these different databases. So if we don't have any questions, I'm just going to remind you once more about help. So if you ever need help with business searching, you can just come to help.ebsco.com or support.ebsco.com. And once again, my email is mhiggins@ebsco, so please feel free to contact me if you ever have any questions in the future. Have a great day. Bye-bye.